Good morning, students. Welcome to the virtual class of Gyaniketan Girls School. This is the continuation of the chapter Tribal During the Colonial Rule. Now, earlier we had seen that who were the tribals and how were the societies of the tribal. What were the changes that were seen in tribal societies after they came in contact with the outside world. How were the tribal society when the Britishers entered in India, that was in 19th century, and the economic change in tribal society. Now in today's video we are going to see about the lifestyle of tribal groups. Now, what do we mean by lifestyle? Lifestyle particularly show that how person live, what they eat, what are their religious belief, what culture and tradition they follow. So here also major tribal groups, that was Gonds, Santhal, Mundas, Oraon, Banjara, Khasis, Bhils, Bhutias and the other great Andamanis. All these were the people, all these were the tribal who had their own culture, language, food, lifestyle, religious culture, tradition, and many more things, etc. So the lifestyle of these tribal people, the lifestyle of each and every tribal people in India varies from state to state or region to region. Means they are not equal or they are not same in any kind, but they are different either with the perspective of their language, with their food, with their religious culture, with their tradition, or anything could make them different from each other. So now it was seen that in the 19th century tribal people were involved in different activities. They were trying to involve themselves in different activities in according to the culture. Now what different activities they were involved in. The first thing that they were involved was the practicing of shifting cultivation. Now shifting cultivation was also known as jhum cultivation. Now what happened in this, the system shifting cultivation is a form of agriculture in which cultivated area is shifted regularly to allow soil properties to recover under condition of natural stages of regrowth. Means once their cultivation is done, then it is the people shift from there to other place to do cultivation and that land is abandoned. So this is what we call shifting cultivation. Now majority of people here, what it was seen that in the shifting cultivation a minority of field was cultivated was in cultivation, and a majority are in various stages of regrowth. So it was seen in the cultivation, jhum cultivation, or we can say shifting cultivation. But over time period fields were cultivated for relatively time period and allowed to recover them and fallowed them. Fallowed means to leave them. Okay, it fallowed means leaving them. Now here different system was taken up for shifting cultivation. A very different method that was used for shifting cultivation was practice of slash and burn. It was used as one element for their farming cycle. Now what was done in this slash and burn method? See, tree tops of the trees were cut to allow sunlight reach the ground. Each and every corner the cultivators used to cut the tree tops to allow sunlight reach the ground and burnt the vegetation on land. Whatever vegetation was being grown on that land, it allowed the rays of the sun burn those vegetation on land. And now what people did, they spread the ash for what, to fertilize the soil of that area. And once the crop was harvested, they moved to another field. They used the same technology in the other portion of the field. So this was what we call shifting cultivation. Now other employed land clearing needed was burning. Means they burned the land. Sometimes no slashing was needed, where regrowth was purely of of grasses when soil were near exhaustion and needed to lie fallow, means it was needed to leave in the condition it was. So shifting cultivation, till here, till today we can see that shifting cultivation are found in the hilly and forested tract of northeast and central India. In the central part of India and the northeastern part of India, you can find shifting cultivation still being carried on. So this was the practice that was followed up by the tribal people. Now, the lives of these tribal people depended on free movement within forest and on being able to use the land and forest for growing their crops. So this was the only way they could practice shifting cultivation. So they used this practice. So it was the one thing that was practiced by, it was the one thing that the tribal people did. Now, here you can see in the picture that it was the cycle, this process of shifting cultivation went on cycle, that cut and burn, then annual harvest, crop was harvested, then it was left for secondary vegetation, then secondary vegetation was turning into secondary forest, and then primary or secondary forest was again burnt, then it was again an annual crop harvestation was being done, then it was again left for secondary vegetation, and so the process went on. So this was what shifting cultivation was. Now, second thing that they did was hunting and gathering. Now, what it was seen that in many region, tribal groups lived by hunting animals and gathering forest products. Means they were hunting animals to live, to eat, and they were also gathering forest product for their livelihood to move on with their life. Now, many of the tribal peoples were also seen that they were dependent on this hunting and gathering. There were some like Khons and Orissa. Now, Khons was seen, they regularly went out on collective hunts. What they used to do, they used to go on collective hunt, and then they divided whatever thing they got, whatever meat they got, they divided those meat among themselves, among their group. Means they believed in sharing. Now, they also ate fruits and roots collected from collected with the, we can say, collected from the forest, and cooked food with the oil that were extracted from the seed of sal and mahua. These were the two plants from which seed was collected and oil was prepared by the tribal people, and these oil were used to make food. Now, they also used many forest herbs and herbs for medicinal purposes. Okay, means tribal people were very much aware of the plants, the herbs, that which herbs were important for which medicinal purpose. So this was an important factor that they had, and also they sold produced in local market. Okay, whatever knowledge they have, whatever from their knowledge they made out, either it was medicine, food, whatever it was, they sold it out in local markets. Now, the local weavers and leather workers, they turned to the Khons. Why? When they needed supplies of two flowers, that was kusum and palash. For what? For coloring their cloth. When they wanted to color their cloth, who? Weaver and leather worker. When they wanted to color their cloth, they contacted Khons, so that they could they could get the supplies of kusum and palash flower, and they could color their cloth and leather. So this was seen by the from the Khons. Now, here also it was seen that from where did these forest people get their supplies of rice and other grains, that is cereals. Okay, and so at that time they exchanged goods. It was seen that they were exchanging goods, getting what they needed in return for their valuable forest product. Means they gave their valuable forest product in order to get cereals, that was rice and wheat or other grain. And at other time they also bought goods with small amount of earning they had. Okay, now some of them did odd jobs in the villages. What type of odd jobs they were doing? They were carrying carrying loads or building roads, while others labored in the field of peasant, means they were working as farmers. Now when the supplies of forest produce shrank, when it was reduced, tribal people had to increasingly wander in search of other work as laborers. Means now earlier they were the owner of particular good, now they became the laborer. Why? Because they had to search for other other source of income, so they could earn their livelihood, because the forest produce were shrinking. Now but many of them means tribal people like the Baigas of central India were reluctant to do works for others. The Baigas saw themselves as people of the forest who could only live on the produce of the forest. Means they did not want any other source of income, they did not want any other means to earn their livelihood. They believed that they were the one who could live on the produce of the forest only. So it was below the dignity of the Baigas to become a laborers, and they denied that. Now tribal people often needed to buy and sell in order to be able to get the goods that were not produced within the locality. Okay, the goods that were not not available in the locality, they were in need to buy or sell those goods. Now this led to their dependence on traders and money lenders. For this purpose they became dependent on traders and money lenders, and traders came around with things for sale and sold the goods at high prices to these tribal people. Now traders came to know, they were very much aware that the tribal people needed these products, these goods. So what they used to do, they used to come with the product and sold that produces or goods at very high prices. Now money lender also, what they did, they gave loan with which the tribal met their cash needs. ठीक है, whatever cash they were needing, whatever things they were needing out of to buy with the cash, money lender were helping them to get that cash by giving them loan. Now what it was seen that the loan what they were getting, they were added is what they earned. Now but the interest charged on the loan was usually very high. The money lender used to put a high interest charge on the loan that were given to the tribal people. So for the tribal people, market and commerce often meant debt and poverty. Now here tribal people were also becoming going on debt, and they were becoming poverty just because of the traders and money lenders, the trick that they played on the tribals. Now they therefore came to see the money lenders and traders as evil outsider and cause of their misery. So this was one thing that was seen by the tribal people. This was one lifestyle that was seen through which tribal people were suffering. Now the next is some herded animals. Now some herded animals means that many tribal group lived by herding and rearing animals, means they were taking good care of animals, domestic animals. Now they were pastoralists who moved with their herds of animals, cattle or sheep according to the season. They moved with their herds according to the season from place to place. Now when the grass in one place were exhausted, they gathered at one place, the cattle herded, the cattle reared the grass, and when the grass was exhausted, when the grass of that place was exhausted, they moved to another area. Now there was a community that was Swan Gujjar of Punjab hills and Labadis of Andhra Pradesh. They were cattle herders, and the Gaddis of Kullu were shepherds, and the Bakarwals of Kashmir reared goats. So these all were the people who belonged to the cattle herder groups, and they used to move from one place to another place to rear their cattle. You can see the picture below that has been given. Now, the next was taking to settled cultivation. Now, taking to settled cultivation means that before the 19th century, many tribal people, many tribal group was seen that they began to settle themselves at one place. Okay. Even before the 19th century, many from within the tribal group began to settle down and cultivating their field in one place year after year. Means earlier we have seen that they were involved in shifting cultivation. Now here we are seeing that they were settling at one place, means they were cultivating their field at one place over year after year, and instead of moving from place to place. Now they began to use the plows. Okay, the plows that was used for cultivation for agriculture purpose, and gradually got over right over the land they lived on. Means earlier it was seen that all the forests belonged to the tribal people. They moved from one place to another. They did not settle at one place. Now here what they started to settle at one place, and they also got right over the land where they were living. Now in many cases, like the mundas of Chota Nagpur, when we see the mundas of Chota Nagpur, means the land over which they were living, that land belonged to the clan as a whole. Okay, now all the members of the clan were regarded as descendant of the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Means whoever were living, who those who were over in that clan belonged to the clan, it was believed that they were all the member of the descendant that first cleared the land of Chota Nagpur plateau. Therefore all of them had the right on the land. Means no one could say that this land belonged to them. Means each and everyone had right on that land. And very often some people within the clan acquired more power. Means they gained power than others, whereas some was seen as becoming chief and other followed those chiefs. So powerful men, what it was seen that powerful men of clans started to rent their land, and instead of cultivating it themselves. So now after some time it was seen that British official now sought settled tribal, the tribal who had settled down, they saw these tribal groups like the Gonds and Santhal as more civilized. Means they were more civilized than other groups, than whom hunter gatherers, or we can say the tribals who were practicing shifting cultivation, and those who lived in the forest were considered to be wild and savage. Means they needed to be settled and civilized. It was said that they needed to be settled and civilized, means they need to stop wandering from one place to another place in forest hilly areas, but they should settle and live on their life. So it was seen, these all were the lifestyle of the various clans, various tribal people that was seen in earlier era. Okay, even after the Britishers came, the tribals were seen, but their condition were worst when the Britishers arrived India. That we are going to study in the next video. For now, thank you and have a nice day.